What's up, Misfit Mindset? This is Brian Fanzo, and yeah, this is the first attempt to really connect the dots between audio and a newsletter and really what we're going to have going on here in Misfit Mindset. And first of all, I just want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me what is your most prized asset that no money can buy, and that is your time. And I'm excited to have launched the Misfit Mindset Substack here. So this is part of episode or issue 1. I really haven't figured out if we call them issues, episodes, newsletters. But for me, this is a big deal, especially as I kind of share in the first newsletter how much of the barrier was for me to be writing, right? And I've been blogging for a couple of years now, probably 6 years, pretty regularly across my website as well as Medium, as well as guest blogging on some brand sites like Adobe and Dell, and some LinkedIn articles that I've been able to do, and a couple. I had one of my blogs came out on Adweek this week, actually, this past week on Clubhouse. But for me, I share kind of the journey in the first issue about this idea of, always feeling like my writing was my biggest limitation. And it's actually the thing that probably scared me the most my entire life. I remember my senior year in high school being told that, after doing some tutoring for the SATs, that writing and reading were always going to be a struggle until I, quote unquote, applied myself. And interestingly enough, it wasn't until I was 31 and I realized it was actually because my brain works differently. And I do have ADHD and things, that I've noticed. And even, as recently this month, and I haven't shared this publicly yet, but I've been going through just the test to understand that I probably have dyslexia as well. And it makes a lot of sense because pronouncing people's names, some of the things that I struggle with, really, I never realized there was, I just assumed I was broken or assumed something was wrong with me. Why couldn't I be like everyone else? And so I kind of share a little bit of that story in that first issue, and really this journey of, for a long while being told that I was broken and that I couldn't do the things that, people were kind of telling me that I should be doing. So with all that being said, one of the things that I think we really have to look at right now in this whole idea of like understanding ourselves is understanding like this journey that we're on. And so for me, part of this, misfit mindset is, letting people know I'm working on this too. I'm working on the format. I'm working on structure, but I'm also realizing because now I've been able to spend more time being self-aware and focused on some of the things that really shine through in my ADHD and, my dyslexia that it does seem like I have. I'm going to try to lean into that and try to get a little bit more creative on, how I even think about copy and how I think about things that I'm putting out to the world. And that's also why, for me, like part of the thing that I'm doing with, the whole layout of my, of the show or the issues is like, I'm really going to break things down into like, hey, here's like a rant and here's what I got going on. Here's, my view on just being, a multi-hyphenated, multi-passionate person that's putting yourself out to the world. We'll talk a little bit about kind of this like futurist mindset on how do we prepare for the future. We'll talk a little bit about the mental health side of the house because of course that is a passion of mine. And then the last but not least thing that I'm really excited about is each issue for those that are on the paid subscriber side is going to have kind of a press the damn button motivation piece where I'm going to put challenge out there. I'm going to hopefully inspire people to do some cool things. And this is also going to connect into the Mighty Networks community that I'm building around, just this entire idea of, how do we give more people, more access, but also how do we support each other and build, a community not only of misfits, but a community that are really helping us all, kind of push forward and change the world. And, this all comes back to really the whole misfit concept, right? And for me, I mentioned, a little bit earlier about, hey, in high school, I was kind of told that I don't apply myself, yet they didn't know that I was trying my hardest. And I kind of thought when I got to college that everything would just work out because like, oh, I finally hit the college, I picked my major, and I still really struggled through school. And interestingly enough, that was really the last time I struggled in anything I've ever done as far as work, because every job I've had, I've been able to find ways to succeed, find ways to do things differently. In many cases, do things, see things that others didn't see, and also work smarter so that I could maybe make up for the things that I thought were my limitations. And it's paid off for me in some amazing ways. But it was actually in college And it was Steve Jobs. And, as Apple was kind of not only having a resurgence, but it led into kind of the Mac kind of rollout, which of course was MacBook, and we had iPhones coming out. The idea of it was cool to be a geek and that it was okay to be a misfit that liked change and did things differently. Being a misfit was kind of like my saving grace, because I know for many of us, it kind of feels sometimes like we don't fit in like the exact box. Like we like to, maybe we dress differently. Maybe we have different passions than our friends. Maybe we have different views on life that we've been told our entire life that we need to keep them quiet or we can't share them publicly. And, I personally believe, and this is a whole nother issue that I already have planned out around this idea of like, how do we rethink everything, like from the standpoint of, why are the things that divide our country at this moment the things we've been programmed not to talk about, right? And that's a whole nother rant. But for those of us that have felt that way, right? Like it's hard to like find your people, but the feeling when you're like, these are my people, I believe there's nothing better. And I believe that to me is what this is all about. That's what to me this entire, journey comes down to, is how do we together find our people, amplify each other, give people grace. And I will say one of the things that is like my biggest motivation, we talk a lot about empathy. We talk a lot about authenticity and vulnerability and transparency. And I say I talk a lot about these things. But really what my job is I'm a mindset speaker. I'm a mindset. I'm not into the woo side of the mindset. Mine more is how do we give each other a unique, embrace our unique perspective, but how more importantly do we shift from this idea of judging people or hating on people because we don't understand to an idea of listening and learning and even really, let's face it, embracing the things that make others different, because we've learned a lot in the last 4 years, in the last 18 months or so about this idea of we are a lot more alike than we are different, right? The pandemic is proof that it didn't matter who you are, what your business was, where your industry was. All of us were impacted by this, everyone in the whole world. But we also realize that we have some differences, and we are all human, right? Executives had kids walking behind them on Zoom. People that never even thought about, the word depression were having, had to go through some things themselves. People that, were now having conversations around mental health that would have never existed before. And I think one of the things that we have to realize is that we're going to get to a pinnacle where we have to get over this hump and realize that we can't say things like, thank God, Snapchat didn't exist when I was in college. Because really what we're saying there is that I did just as enough, just as bad or just as crazy things, if not worse, than the kids today. But they're being judged on it because we have access to it. And yet we believe in that access to give us this true authenticity and make sure that we remember that, people are everyone is human and we all make mistakes and we all have flaws and we all have vulnerabilities and we all have struggles. But we also can, by embracing them, by embracing what makes us a misfit, by embracing the things that are maybe our flaws that we've always been told. Maybe it's the things that, that have scared us. By embracing them, by owning them, and even by putting them out to the world, it allows us to attract our people and find our people. And I believe right now, 2021, while you guys are listening to this, is the time for us to not only reevaluate what is important to us, look at our priorities, but really focus on aligning our lives, our mission, and even the people around us, that people that value the things that we value. But I don't believe that can happen until we're first hyper self-aware and we start talking about things that we've never talked about before. We start having conversations that we've been scared to have, but we've all learned that those conversations need to happen if us as a society, us as human race, and us as individuals are going to change, going to embrace the new, and hopefully make an impact on this world. So to my fellow misfits, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being on this journey with me. Thank you for buying into this idea. And I will tell you, on this journey to 2093, to me, this is exciting. And I'm so excited for you guys to be here. So until next time, my name is Brian Fanzo. founder of iSocial Fans. And I'll leave you with my favorite thing to leave every episode, every podcast episode that I record, both FOMO fans and press the damn button. Go out of your way to let someone know that you care. I always say that my secret for community growth, for standing out online, is the simple phrase of show you care. If you can show you care about others, let people know that you appreciate them, that what they're doing in their lives, how they're showing up is inspiring you or motivating you or just making you feel like you are heard. Let them know that you care. Nobody will ever say that you care too much or provide someone too much value. And let's face it, the bar for caring right now is pretty damn low. If each one of us, everyone that listens to this, just cared a little bit more about others, let people know that we care about them, I think we'd all be amazed on the impact we can make on the world. Till next time, my friends, cheers.